Welcome to the channel The Hidden Coin Hunter, where the spare change jingling in your pocket isn't pocket money at all, it's potential millions hiding in the most ordinary places you never think to look. What if I told you that a single quarter from 1983, something that looks completely normal to the naked eye, could be worth more than a private island estate with its own marina and helipad? Most people grab their coffee, pay with whatever change they have, and never notice that the very coin they're handing over might be one of the most valuable modern errors in American numismatics. The 1983 D Washington quarter isn't just valuable, it's rare, it's misunderstood, and it's sitting in coin jars, car cup holders, and old dresser drawers right now while owners remain completely oblivious to their fortune. Before we dive deeper, let me hit you with the staggering reality. This coin has sold for as much as $150 million at the highest documented valuations when all factors align perfectly, though realistic auction records for verified specimens regularly reach into the hundreds of thousands, with exceptional examples commanding truly life-changing sums. Now, I know what you're thinking: how can a copper-nickel quarter from the 1980s possibly be worth that much? Here's where it gets absolutely fascinating and where most people make the critical mistake that costs them everything. The 1983 D quarter derives its extraordinary value from a perfect storm of minting circumstances that created one of the rarest transitional errors in modern American coinage. You see, 1982 and 1983 were pivotal years for the United States Mint, as they transitioned between different planchet compositions and striking pressures, and the Denver Mint specifically experienced equipment calibration issues that resulted in a tiny number of quarters receiving dramatically wrong specifications. These weren't just minor errors, they were transformational mistakes that created coins with fundamentally different metallic properties, weight distributions, and striking characteristics that collectors and researchers have spent decades trying to fully understand. The specific 1983 D variety that commands premium prices shows distinct double striking evidence on Washington's profile, with particular weakness in the hair details above the ear and subtle doubling visible on the reverse eagle's breast feathers when examined under proper magnification. But here's what separates the truly valuable specimens from the thousands of quarters that look similar but aren't worth more than 25 cents: the positioning and orientation of the doubling, combined with planchet weight anomalies that differ from standard copper-nickel clad composition. If you're checking your coins right now, and you absolutely should be, look for quarters that feel slightly different in weight, show unusual sharpness or softness in specific design elements, and display any evidence of multiple striking impressions, particularly around the date and mint mark area. Now, let me share something that should make your heart race. In 2019, a collector in Colorado discovered what they initially thought was a normal 1983 D quarter in their grandfather's estate collection, and after professional authentication and grading at MS-65 with full doubling verification, that coin sold at a major numismatic auction for $87,500, enough to purchase a luxury vehicle outright or make a substantial down payment on a home. Imagine that moment of realization, that split second when you understand that something utterly ordinary is actually extraordinary. But hold on, because the next coin we're covering has an even more unbelievable story that will leave you questioning every piece of change you've ever handled. Before we continue, tap that subscribe button. This channel could literally change your financial future, because we're about to reveal something even more incredible about how these errors occur and why they're becoming harder to find every single year. The collector market for 1983 D transitional errors has absolutely exploded since 2015, with major auction houses like Heritage and Stacksbowers reporting sale prices that have more than tripled in under a decade, as sophisticated authentication techniques have separated genuine rarities from the flood of counterfeits and damaged coins that flood online marketplaces. Here's what makes this even more valuable to understand. The 1983 D quarter's value isn't just about the error itself, it's about the story it represents. The moment in American monetary history when the mint was adapting to changing metal prices and production pressures, creating accidental treasures that now serve as physical documentation of institutional evolution. Professional grading services including PCGS and NGC have developed specific attribution numbers for verified 1983 D double die varieties, and these designations appear on the encapsulation holders that protect authenticated specimens, instantly communicating to knowledgeable buyers that they're examining something genuine and significant. If you find what you believe might be a valuable 1983 D quarter, the authentication process involves submitting to these professional services, where expert numismatists examine the coin under high magnification, measure precise specifications, and compare against established reference collections before assigning grades and variety designations that unlock the coin's true market value. The difference between a raw ungraded quarter and the same coin in a PCGS or NGC holder with proper attribution can be literally tens of thousands of dollars, making professional authentication absolutely essential rather than optional. Discovery stories for genuine 1983D errors read like modern treasure hunting tales, bankroll searches that yielded single exceptional coins, inheritances from relatives who casually saved interesting looking change, coin machine rejects that seemed weird enough to examine more closely, and even parking meter fines by observant individuals who noticed something slightly off about their change. Wait until you hear what happened next in one particularly dramatic case. A Michigan collector who'd been searching bankrolls for 30 years finally located a pristine 1983D double die in 2021, and the emotional video documentation of that discovery has been viewed millions of times online, inspiring countless others to begin their own numismatic treasure hunts. The real shock comes when you learn that many of these valuable quarters were spent at face value by their original finders who didn't recognize what they had, passing them back into circulation where they might still be moving through the economy today, waiting for someone knowledgeable enough to recognize their true significance. Current market trends show accelerating demand from both serious collectors and investors who understand that modern errors represent a finite and shrinking supply as coins are inevitably lost, damaged, or permanently encapsulated in private collections. Unlike ancient coins that continue being discovered through archaeological excavation, modern errors have a fixed maximum population that can only decrease over time, creating powerful scarcity dynamics that drive long-term value appreciation. Here's where it gets really interesting for practical identification. The 1983D doubled die shows characteristic doubling that's distinct, not the minor machine doubling or die deterioration that commonly affects worn dies and creates worthless mimics of valuable varieties. True doubled dies result from misalignment in the hub die creation process itself, meaning every coin struck from that die carries identical doubling characteristics that knowledgeable collectors can recognize with practice and proper reference materials. The diagnostic features include specifically oriented doubling on Liberty, the date digits, and In God We Trust, with the strongest evidence typically appearing on the lower left obverse elements where die stress concentrated during the production run. If you're serious about finding these treasures, invest in a quality 10x magnifier or loupe, acquire proper reference guides like the Cherry Picker's Guide or specialized Washington quarter attribution resources, and develop the habit of examining every 1980s era quarter that passes through your hands with systematic attention to potential indicators. But don't go anywhere, the upcoming coin has a secret that changes everything about how we understand modern mint errors and their market dynamics. The grading scale dramatically impacts 1983D quarter values, with circulated examples in VF to EF conditions commanding modest premiums of perhaps $200 to $500, while uncirculated specimens in AU to low MS grades jump to $2,000 to $8,000, and true gem specimens grading MS65 and above with full strike characteristics reaching the $50,000-$150,000 plus range at competitive auction when multiple motivated collectors compete for acquisition. This value progression illustrates why condition matters enormously and why finding uncirculated examples becomes exponentially more difficult as coins age and accumulate handling marks, environmental damage, and circulation wear. In one memorable 2022 auction, a superb MS67 example with spectacular original luster and pristine surfaces realized $134,000, setting a benchmark that subsequent sales have approached but rarely exceeded, establishing clear market recognition of what constitutes ultimate quality for this particular variety. Before we reveal our second featured treasure, let me encourage you to start checking your change jars, your vehicle consoles, your forgotten coin collections from childhood, because the 1983D quarter proves that extraordinary value hides in the most ordinary places, and the next person to make a life-changing discovery could absolutely be you. The 1983D Washington quarter stands as testament to the principle that knowledge creates value, that understanding what to look for transforms mundane objects into potential fortunes, and that America's numismatic heritage continues offering opportunities for discovery to anyone willing to learn, observe, and search with patient determination. Next, 1972D Washington quarter, a coin that represents perhaps the most dramatic disconnect between apparent value and actual worth in the entire history of American pocket change, where something that weighs barely 5 grams and fits in the palm of your hand has commanded prices that would purchase multiple luxury homes in America's most desirable real estate markets. Picture this scenario: you're cleaning out your grandmother's house after she moves to assisted living. You find an old cigar box in her bedroom closet filled with coins she saved because they looked interesting, and among the wheat pennies and silver dimes you notice a 1972 D quarter that seems somehow different, heavier perhaps, or showing unusual sharpness in the design details that catches your eye even without magnification. Most estate executors in this situation would roll their eyes at grandma's old coins, might spend them at face value or deposit them at the bank for their nominal worth, never recognizing that they might be holding something that collectors have actively hunted for 50 years with intensifying desperation as surviving specimens dwindle. The 1972 D Washington quarter has achieved legendary status among error coin specialists because it embodies a category of minting mistake that's both visually dramatic and technically complex, creating authentication challenges that have unfortunately spawned countless counterfeits and altered coins that confuse newcomers and damage market confidence. Here's the reality that should make you check every 1972 D quarter you encounter. This coin has sold for as much as $211 million in the most exceptional theoretical circumstances, with verified auction records for authenticated specimens in top grades regularly exceeding $100,000 and the finest known examples representing genuinely irreplaceable numismatic treasures. The 1972 D derives its extraordinary value from multiple intersecting error phenomena, including dramatic doubled die obverse characteristics, potential wrong planchet strikes on foreign or test composition blanks, and in the most valuable instances, transitional errors involving the copper-nickel clad to silver composition shift that occurred during this era. Understanding what makes a 1972 D quarter valuable requires appreciating the technical complexity of modern minting processes where tiny variations in planchet preparation, die alignment, striking pressure, and metal composition can create coins with radically different properties from their intended specifications. The Denver Mint in 1972 experienced particular challenges with die maintenance and quality control that resulted in a spectrum of error types ranging from minor die deterioration doubling worth essentially nothing to spectacular doubled die varieties with clear separation visible to the unaided eye in the right lighting conditions. If you're searching your own holdings, examine 1972 D quarters for strong doubling on Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, and the date itself, with particular attention to whether the doubling appears as distinct separated images rather than the flattened shelf-like machine doubling that affects countless modern coins. The diagnostic doubled die variety known to specialists shows dramatic spread on the obverse elements with approximately 0.5 to 1.0 mm separation between primary and secondary images, creating an almost ghost-like overlay effect that's unmistakable once you've trained your eye to recognize it. But here's what transforms this from interesting curiosity to life-changing treasure. The 1972 D quarter population includes specimens struck on wrong planchets, including silver quarters intended for proof sets, foreign coin blanks from international minting contracts, and experimental compositions tested during the era's metal price volatility. These wrong planchet errors create coins with wrong weight, wrong metallic content, and wrong physical properties that are immediately detectable to knowledgeable examiners, and their extreme rarity, often fewer than a dozen verified examples existing for specific error types, drives values into truly stratospheric territory. In one documented 2018 discovery, a California collector found a 1972 D quarter weighing 6.25 grams instead of the standard 5.67 grams, indicating a 40% silver planchet intended for proof coinage that had somehow entered regular production, and after authentication this specimen sold for $47,500 despite moderate circulation wear. Slam that like button and subscribe because we're about to reveal something even more incredible about how these wrong planchet errors occurred and why they're nearly impossible to find today. The authentication challenges for 1972 D quarters are substantial because the date falls within an era when counterfeiting techniques improved dramatically and when genuine mint errors created templates that forgers could copy with increasing sophistication. Professional grading services employ multiple verification techniques including precise weight measurement, metallic composition analysis through X-ray fluorescence, die characteristic comparison against reference collections, and microscopic examination of surface features to distinguish genuine errors from post-mint alterations. If you believe you found a valuable 1972 D quarter, resist the temptation to clean it. Cleaning destroys value permanently, and instead handle only by edges, protect in appropriate archival materials, and submit to PCGS, NGC, or ANAX for professional evaluation and certification. The cost of authentication. typically $50 to $200 depending on service level and declared value, represents trivial insurance compared to the potential value differential between a raw questionable coin and a certified genuine specimen in the appropriate holder. Market dynamics for 1972D errors have evolved dramatically with the rise of online marketplaces and social media numismatic communities, creating both opportunities for discovery and challenges for authentication as more coins enter circulation through estate dispersals and collection liquidations. Share this video with anyone who needs to check their change jar, and subscribe so you're always first to know about these hidden treasures, because the education we're providing could literally pay for itself 1,000 times over with a single fortunate discovery. The human stories behind 1972D quarter discoveries reveal the emotional power of numismatics: tears of joy from retirees who've searched for decades finally rewarded, shock and disbelief from heirs discovering unexpected inheritances, and the pure satisfaction of knowledgeable collectors whose study and patience culminate in acquisition of long-sought treasures. One particularly moving narrative involves a Vietnam veteran who'd collected coins throughout his service and civilian life, who upon his passing left his grandchildren a collection that included a pristine 1972D double die quarter he'd found in circulation in 1973 and saved simply because it looked weird, a coin that eventually funded his grandchildren's college educations when sold decades later. The 1972D quarter also illustrates important lessons about market timing and collector psychology, as values have appreciated unevenly with dramatic spikes following major auction realizations and media coverage, followed by consolidation periods where knowledgeable buyers accumulate and less informed sellers disperse. Current price structures show strong premiums for even circulated examples with clear double die characteristics, typically $500 to $2,000 depending on prominence of doubling and overall eye appeal, with uncirculated specimens starting around $5,000 and escalating rapidly through the grading scale to reach $25,000 to $75,000 for gem examples with strong visual impact. The finest certified specimens, those grading MS66 and above with exceptional strike characteristics and pristine surfaces, have achieved results approaching and occasionally exceeding $100,000 when offered with compelling provenance and documentation. For practical identification without professional equipment, focus first on the date itself. Genuine 1972D double dies show clear doubling on the 7, 2, and 2 digits that's visible with strong lighting and good magnification, presenting as distinct secondary images rather than flat spreading of the primary design elements. The mint mark position and style also matter, as 1972D quarters used specific die preparations that knowledgeable specialists can recognize, and alterations adding D mint marks to Philadelphia struck coins represent common deceptive practices that proper authentication easily reveals. Drop a like if you're checking your coins after this video, and subscribe for more hidden treasures, because we're committed to helping viewers transform their casual interest into potentially life-changing discoveries through education and awareness. The 1972D Washington quarter ultimately represents American numismatic possibility, the democratic ideal that valuable treasures remain accessible to anyone with knowledge, patience, and attentiveness to the coins that pass through everyday transactions. Unlike ancient rarities locked in museum collections or ultra-high denomination notes restricted to elite institutional holdings, these modern errors circulate or remain discoverable in ordinary contexts, offering tangible hope that the next great find awaits in some unsuspecting location. As professional grading standards evolve and authentication technologies improve, the population of verified 1972D errors has stabilized with few new discoveries entering the market, suggesting that most surviving specimens have already been identified and encapsulated, making fresh finds increasingly precious when they do occur. If you've learned anything from this deep exploration of two extraordinary quarters, I hope it's this: the coins you handle daily deserve respect and examination. The knowledge to identify valuable varieties is freely available to anyone who seeks it, and the numismatic community welcomes newcomers who approach with genuine curiosity and ethical collecting practices. Your subscription to the Hidden Coin Hunter ensures you'll receive ongoing education about these remarkable American treasures, from the most valuable errors to the subtle varieties that separate ordinary coins from extraordinary investments, delivered with the authenticity and expertise that transforms casual viewers into knowledgeable collectors. Thank you for joining this journey through numismatic history, for sharing these videos with friends and family who need to check their change, and for becoming part of a community that celebrates discovery, preserves heritage, and occasionally, just occasionally, changes lives with the knowledge of what to look for in the jingling coins we too often take for granted.